Y'all, welcome to my life today. Today is another day, another edition of my life. Today I'll be talking about piston ring gap. This is one of the most essential parts of the engine. As a technician or as a mechanic, you know what I mean. This is a very delicate matter because your ring gap must not be too big or too small. When it is too small, it causes a problem, and when it is too big, it causes a problem. This is the piston ring gap. As you can see, what I'm holding, this is a ring. This is a ring. Let me hang my microphone. Let me hang my microphone, please. Aha, yeah. Now this is the ring. This is a ring. It is this gap. This gap. This gap here. That is what we refer to as piston ring gap. This gap, there's so many questions about this gap that I'm going to answer in this video. And when you watch this video, you don't need another video regarding piston ring gap. Let's go to the first question about it. The first question is, what is piston ring gap? What is the ring gap? The piston ring gap is the gap between the end of the ring. This is one end and this is another end. It is this gap that I refer to as piston ring gap. It is this gap. That is the first question. Every ring of every engine must have this gap, but the closeness or the width of the gap, the amount of how close the gap must be, it will differs in every engine and based on every manufacturer. What is the second question? The second question is, why is ring gap important? The ring gap is very important because when the engine is working, the rings will become hot, and that is what we call thermal expansion. Expansion is going to take place. Then the ring prevents the ring to collide. It ensures that when expansion comes, this gap does not collide like this. It doesn't join like this. The gap is still there no matter, because if this gap collide with each other, then the ring is going to fail, and that is going to cause a very serious problem to the engine. So this ring gap is very essential, so it must be there. And the reason why it must be there is, during the expansion, the ring will surely expansion. It's going to expand, and when it expands, these two edges must not collide with each other. And when it collides with each other, the ring will bind. It will cause problem to you may even have a kind of loss of compression. So that is why the ring gap is very essential. Let's go to the third question, which is, how do I measure the end gap? This is another question that so many people have been asking. Some are even using razor blade to measure the end gap of the piston. Before you can measure the end gap of the piston, you must insert it in the bore of the cylinder. You must insert it in the bore of the cylinder. You must insert the ring. This is the ring inside the bore of a cylinder. When you insert in the bore of the cylinder, it is then you now measure it. But what are you going to use to measure it? Well, there are so many tools that so many people are using, but personally I love using feeler gauge, because to me it is the simplest tools that majority of us are very familiar with as a mechanic. We use it to measure the valve lashes and other things. So since we are very familiar with it, then we can also use it to measure the end gap of the piece of the rings. So I always encourage people to use filler gauge. But if you have other tools too that you can use to measure this end gap, fine, you can also make good use of it. But this is what I use to measure the head gap of the rings. But don't forget, you can't measure end gap like this. It must be inserted. It must be inserted. You must insert it in a ball, in a cylinder ball, in a cylinder. You must insert the rings. Then when you insert it, definitely the gap will not become reduced like this. You see, to become reduced, then you now measure it with a filler gauge to know what you want. Let's go to number 4 question. Number 4 question says, what is the recommended end gap? This is another serious question, because I think these are generated a lot of arguments that what is recommended end gap. But this is what I always tell people. I always tell people that for end gap, the best recommendation is the one given by the piston ring manufacturer. When you buy a piston rings, if this is a piston ring carton, if this is the carton, if you check, there must be a pamphlet in that carton, a paper like this in that carton. There you are going to see the recommended ring gap for that specific ring. It must be there. But for rule of thumb, as in for general use, you can use a 0.004. Yes, 0.004 of an inch per inch of ball. That is what as a general rule. But you can check the manufacturer, the piston ring manufacturer recommendation, follow the recommendation of the piston ring recommendation, then you can make use of it. So the specific number that was given to you, you can make use of it. And you also need to know that there is difference between, in most cases, the diesel and petrol engine require more compression. For example, a diesel engine requires more compression to run than a petrol engine. Why? Because it is self-ignition, so it requires a lot of compression, and in most cases it has more tighter or more thinner gap because of it requires a lot of compression. But in petrol engine, the gap might be more wider, so don't be surprised when you notice that in diesel engine the gap is a bit closer than what you see in petrol engine. Yes, because in petrol engine it has spark plug that ignite the engine, but here in diesel engine it is self-ignition, so it requires a lot of compression to run. So for that reason, you have to consult the pamphlet or the small paper in the rings, in the piston ring that you bought. Check, you're going to see it there, the recommended gap that you can measurement that you can use for your piston ring and gap. But if you don't see it, you can go with 0.004. Hope I answered that question. Let's go to the next question. The next question is how to position each end gap. How we position it. This is what I mean by this. In a piston, you have about 3 rings. The first one, the second one, and the third one. The first one usually is the compression ring, while the second ring is usually the scraper or the support ring, while the last one is oil control ring. Then all these rings have end gap. So how should you face the end gap? The end gap, this end gap now must not face each other. You should know that. It's one rule that you should know very well. It must, let me say, this is the first one. The first one is by this side. You cannot put the second one by this side again. By this side again, no. Or by the downside is no. You must go for, at least you should be able to maintain 90 to 120 degree apart. You see the end gap here now? It's facing this side. It will now be facing this side. Why? Because the end gap must not face each other. It is a rule. Why? So that you not have loss of compression. Let us assume that the end gap is like this and compression escape from here. Because if another end gap faces here, it means the compression will be able to escape downward. But when this one is like this and another one is not facing this side, when the compression escape from here, it cannot escape from the other side. That is why this end gap must not face each other. In fact, you must maintain between 90 to 120. Is the best you can do for yourself. So that is why you need to ensure that you maintain such degree to each other. The next question is, what can happen if the end gap is too tight or too wide? And this is one of the toughest questions to answer. What I will answer is, when the end gap is too, let me go with when it's too tight. What happens when it's too tight? When it's too tight, that is when the end gap is too close like this, too close. It means that when the engine is running, there is expansion. The ring will collide. You get the point? The ring will collide like this because the gap is too tight. And when the ring collide, what happens? It causes damages, a lot of damages. So the ring must not collide. So the end gap must not be too tight. So because expansion must surely take place when the engine becomes hot. So when it's become hot, the ring will collide with the other end, will meet the other end. And when this, it means the ring is no longer working. So that is the problem. But what happens when the end gap is too wide? When it's too wide, you're going to have three problems. One, you have loss of compression. It will allow compression to escape. See, compression is going to escape. And secondly, you also going to have loss of power. When the compression escape, the power drop. You have loss of power. And thirdly, you also have loss of oil, because it's going to allow oil to escape, especially from the oil control ring. Oil is going to escape, and when the oil escapes, it escapes to the piston head. That is why at that situation you see the engine emitting white smokes, blue smokes, because of oil burn. So the end gap, when end gap is too tight, the rings is going to collide. When the ring collide, this ring, any ring that collide, is no longer functioning. It is gone. If the end gap is too wide, you have three problems. One, loss of compression. Compression will escape from here. You have loss of power. Then you also have what? You also have loss of oil. So these are the things you need to avoid. That is why you need accuracy. You need accuracy. You need to ensure that when you measure it must be accurate. You must follow the manufacturer recommendation while you are trying to fix this. While you are trying to fix this. Another question that people do ask is that if you notice that the end gap is too close, can you widen it? Yes is the answer. It can be widened. Let us assume that you bought a ring, and when you fix it in a ball, you notice that the end gap is too tight, too close like this. That does not mean the ring cannot work. You can use a hand file. What will you do? You file this edge, then you file the both edges, the both end. You don't have to file only one end. No, you damage the ring. You file the two end little by little, and ensure that as you are doing that, you keep measuring to ensure that your measurement is still intact, so that it will not become too wide. So that is all you need to know about the piston ring and gap. And another point is that when you are setting it, it must not be at the center of your piston ball. No, it must not be at the center of the piston pin. You know the piston pin? Yeah, it must not be at the center of your piston pin. No, I mean your end gap must not face your piston pin. She don't face there. So the two rules is that it must not face each other. Remember, maintain 90 to 120 degree apart, the end gap from one piece, from one ring to another ring. Then it should, don't allow it to face the piston pin. So that is all you need to know about the piston end gap. Hope you enjoyed this live. If you don't subscribe to my channel, please subscribe to this channel. That is all you need to know. Share this video and let other people who have not seen it watch it. Thank you for watching this video. See you in my next video. Thank you.